Hey guys, today we're going to do a very basic engine oil change on a 2010 Harley Davidson Road King Classic. Pretty much most of your twin cams, 2000 and up, all the oil changes are going to be very similar. Your drain plug location might be a little different, but for the most part it's going to be the same thing. So I'll show you kind of what you need, what you don't need, what I do, why I do it, and we'll go from there.
Okay, so one thing that's super important about changing your motorcycle engine oil is you want to make sure it's nice and hot. So fire it up, take it for a burn.
Now, like I said, this is on a 2010 Harley Davidson Road King Classic with a 96-inch motor. But this oil change is going to pretty much go for all your twin cams from around 2000 to 2017. So what I like to do, I use Lucas fully synthetic 2050. Been using it for years, never had a fucking problem, so why would I change it? I always also put a little bit of oil stabilizer in there. That's never a bad idea. There's multiple oil filters, and if you're doing it right and you're doing it often, really the brand and that kind of stuff's not super important as long as you're staying on top of it. And also, before I get going, I like to put a little motor flush in the motor, in the engine oil. That way it kind of breaks things apart. That way I get more out of it whenever I'm draining it. So that'll be the first thing we do.
All right, so first thing, you're going to locate the oil cover cap. And like I said, we're going to put that Motormedic motor flush in there. It'll give you all the instructions on the back of the bottle, but basically you're going to let it run for about 5 minutes. Once you've done that, you're going to turn the bike off. We're going to find a 5/8 inch socket. That's pretty standard for most of your Harley Davidsons. So 5/8 is going to find this oil drain plug right here. You're going to let that thing loose, of course in a catch pan, and let her drip. All right, so while that finishes draining, I want you to inspect your drain plug. Pretty simple, just look for some metal shavings or anything. That nub there on top is actually a magnet. Make sure you get that nice and cleaned off. I'm also going to replace that little rubber gasket, just a little O-ring. All right, so next thing you're gonna do is locate the oil filter itself. Most of your Harley Davidson is gonna be located right there at the front of the bike, behind the frame, in front of the motor. Pretty simple, just lefty-loosey. Be careful not to crush it though, because then it turns into a real pain in the ass to get off. Okay, so once you've got the old filter off and everything cleaned as well as you can around it, you're going to take the new one, get some clean new oil around it, and I want you to just put a very light, thin layer over that rubber seal and go ahead and replace it. Stick it on there. Now, you do not have to muscle this thing on there tight. Just get it a little overhand tight. You're going to take your drain plug that's all been cleaned up and nice and fresh, and replace it back exactly where you guessed, where you got it from. Now, there are specs in your manual about exactly how tight this needs to be, but tighten it, but use your head, don't kill it. You guessed it, filling it back up with oil. So check your specs for exactly how many quarts you're gonna need for your particular bike. But one thing I do suggest is this Lucas heavy-duty oil stabilizer. I really trust this stuff. It seems to do really well for me, and I don't go without it. So once you get everything filled up, I want you to go ahead and cap it. Now you'll notice while I'm checking my dipstick here, I'm going to pull it back out, and I want it to read about to where I need about a half a quart still, because this is cold oil, okay? It's going to expand. So once I get right about there, I'm going to put it back in. I'm going to fire the bike up, let that oil get hot, and it should be about right. If it's not, repeat the process until you got it right there at full hot on Jiffy stand.